Hey, how's it going guys? Phil here, and this is a review for the Fruitsaver steam canner. You'll receive a removable rack, steam canner base, steam canner dome lid, temperature gauge, plastic knob, metal ring insert, metal knob skirt, and an instruction manual. The temperature indicator has 3 color-coded rings for different zones depending on your altitude, from 0 to 9,000 feet above sea level, in 3,000-foot increments. Instructions printed underneath say to start your canning timer only after the red needle has reached the green area for your zone to ensure proper sterilization and safety. To assemble the indicator, knob, and lid, you'll first need to remove the screw and washer from the gauge. Next, take the ring insert and note the 2 notches on the inside edge opposite one another. These will line up with small tabs on the sides of the gauge, so it'll only fit in the ring when these are lined up. Next, take the plastic knob and hold it with the flange facing up. Place the ring with the gauge on top of the flange. Holding all these pieces together, take the metal knob skirt and place the small opening onto the bottom of the assembled knob. Now, take the dome lid and place the handle over the middle of the top, lining it up with the hole in the center. Place the screw with the washer into the hole from the inside and thread it onto the bottom of the gauge. Tighten gently with a Phillips screwdriver and it should pull together all the pieces of the knob tightly. Ensure that the text on the gauge and logo are oriented the same way so that you can read them. This is important because the hole for venting the steam needs to be placed in the rear for safe operation. The height of the dome lid is 6.5 inches with a 12.5 inch diameter. The handle adds an additional 1.5 inches to the height. The base is wider with a 13-inch diameter and is 16.5 inches including the handles with rubber grips on them. The height of the base is 3 inches. This is the jar rack. It is made from a thin sheet metal with holes stamped out to let steam pass through, and the feet keep the rack 1.1/8 inch off the bottom of the pan. It is sized to fit in the base with about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch clearance all around. Before first use, be sure to clean the inside of the steamer and the rack with mild soapy water. All parts are aluminum, so they cannot be washed in the dishwasher. You'll first need to calibrate your gauge before you can start canning foods safely. To do so, place the rack in the base and fill with water until it reaches the level of the rack, about 10 cups. Turn your stove on to medium or high heat and bring the water to a boil. Then place 4 1-quart jars of plain water on the rack. They don't need to have lids on them. Place the steamer lid over top, ensuring it is fully seated. Then wait 20 to 40 minutes for the canner to come up to temperature. You'll be looking for the red needle in the gauge to reach the green area of the range for your zone and stop rising. I'll be using the outermost ring, zone 1 marked in blue. If you notice steam or water sputtering around the lid, or it starts to lift up, slowly turn down the temperature of the burner until this activity stops. When the needle has stopped moving, this is the max point and you'll want to record its position, which I've done here using a black marker. In order to ensure safe canning of your food, you'll need to wait until the needle hits this mark each time you can before starting your processing time, and calibration should be performed at the start of each canning season to ensure accuracy. Since the canner is already preheated, I'm going to go ahead and can several pints of homemade tomato sauce, warm packed into clean jars and fitted with finger-tight lids and rings. The canner can process up to 8 pint jars or 7-quart jars at a time, and I try to spread them out as evenly as possible on the rack. You'll want to follow the same recommended processing times as traditional water bath canning from the USDA, which for tomatoes is 35 to 40 minutes. Pre-sterilization is only necessary if the processing time is less than 10 minutes, and be sure not to open the lid until processing is complete. Once the processing time is finished, you can turn the heat off, but it's important that you let it stand for another 5 minutes before opening the lid. Otherwise, you'll have to start all over again. After 5 minutes, carefully open the lid, tilting it away from you to let the steam out the back. Then remove the jars from the rack and allow them to cool for 12 to 24 hours. When the jars are cool, check the seals by pressing on the center of the lid to ensure that it does not pop back up. After several uses, you may find that the inside of your steam canner is slightly discolored, either a chalky white or a dark dull gray. This discoloration does not affect the performance of the canner, so there's no need to remove it. Overall, this steam canner works well for preserving and canning acidic foods like tomatoes, jams and jellies, and pickle products. It saves a bit of time and energy, since you only have to heat up 1.5 quarts of water to process up to 7 quarts of food, versus a traditional water bath canner, which may need several gallons of water. However, it can't be used on low-acid foods like vegetables or meat and must be calibrated each year. I hope you enjoyed this review. You can ask me any questions in the comments. I'll put a link to the product in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join me next time.